order the 2021 parish meeting. We are meeting online. This is an online meeting by Zoom, our Zoom parish meeting. And in an email yesterday, you should have received an agenda. And Nan is going to share that with us too, but you should have the agenda and you should have the minutes from last year's meeting, and we will want to approve those minutes. So if you haven't looked those over, take a minute and look the minutes over from last year. Oh, and I can take that off of there.
Let's see. I'm going to put the minutes up real quickly. Sorry about that.
Share that with us. Okay, so here is the agenda. We are adopting this agenda for today's meeting. Okay. You need to, okay. All right. And so our first order of business is to approve the minutes. I don't know if you need a few more minutes to look that over. Hopefully most of you took a look at that yesterday when it came out in the email. So I do need a motion to accept the minutes from the 2020 meeting, the 2020 parish meeting.
Barb,
Somebody will need to unmute themselves. Yes.
is Bill's name misspelled? We're thinking it is. Raymond.
Oh. Oh, I believe you're right.
Okay.
Yes,
we're ready.
R-A-M-A-N.
Yes. So we do need to correct that spelling.
Okay, the
And
parish
Barb?
hall is approved.
I'm sorry, Barb, I spell my name T-E-R-R-I. Terry Pounds there. In that
Here in the
paragraph.
stewardship.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I need a motion to accept the minutes with those spelling corrections.
So move.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, and to approve, if you will just raise your hand so we can see it, but we want everyone to remain muted. Okay, so if you approve, raise your hand or type yes in the chat. Okay, it looks like that is passed. Okay, and so we will look to Reverend Ann.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray.
Also with you.
O God of grace and mercy, we give you thanks for the many ways you bless us, but especially for giving us this Trinity Church family to belong to. Bless us with your presence as we gather here and at home to do the family business and to reflect and celebrate that even in this very difficult year, you have guided and strengthened us to continue being your hands and feet in Marble Falls and Burnett County. Thank you so much, O Lord, for our wonderful rector, Dave, with his calm, wise, and steady care for us. Thank you for our vestry, wardens, and other able leaders and staff who have offered their gifts and counsel to help us figure out how to be the church in these unusual times. And thank you so much for the generosity of the people of Trinity. Please comfort and heal those who are ill or in mourning or alone or troubled or hungry. And we ask that you weave us and all peoples of the earth ever closer together and closer to you. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And I apologize, Dan, I should have had you do that a little sooner. Okay, and our next order of business is our vestry election. The nominees for the to join the vestry are Basil Bigby, Andy Vierick, and Terry. So I do need a motion to approve this slate of nominees. Okay, I see.
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, and is there any discussion?
Second.
Okay. So to show your approval for these candidates, these nominees, just please raise your hand. Let us see it. Or type yes into the chat. All right, very good. It looks like we've got that covered. So welcome to the vestry, Basil, Randy, and Terry. And next is our treasurer's reports. I'm going to turn things over to Bruce.
Let's see, Bruce, you're still muted. So
Right.
there you
How
go.
about now?
There you go. It's fine. Yeah,
All
you're
right.
good.
So we're going to review 3 different sheets. The first one we're going to put up is our statement of financial position. So if you can show that one to us. Okay, this basically is a balance sheet and it's a snapshot of our financial position as of December 31, 2020. So it's the year that we just finished. And what I wanted to do, just hit a couple of real quick comments. If you look up in the current assets, one of the main things that we look at is our regular operating cash. And that should be the 55,000 up above there, Nan. Yeah, that's 55,000. And several years ago, we set a target of $50,000 to keep that balance to handle just the cash flow in and outs, month to month. So we ended up the year with that higher than our operating target. And basically that's a result of a surplus of revenues, less expenses for the year, which we'll show you in just a few minutes. The other current assets is where most of our money is. And later on in the meeting, that'll be reviewed by the foundation. So any questions on that page? Okay, we're going to go to the statement of activities. Next page. And what this shows is the main categories of our revenues and expenses, again, ending December 31. The second column shows what our budget was in basically December of 2019. And the next column shows how we finished up the year. If you look at the bottom line there, you'll see revenues minus expenses. In a private organization, you'd call that income. We don't do that in a church environment. So we had budgeted a surplus of $4,000, and we actually ended up with $16,700. And so that's a net increase of about $12,000 versus budget. And that was one of the reasons why our operating cash was higher than our target. Just a quick mention on this one. What's sort of confusing this year, if you look up go up to designated income up above and then 188,000. Keep going. There you go. Yeah. The way we work our budget, you'll see designated income, and then below you'll see designated expenses, the 153,000 there, Dan. What those are sort of the way, there's probably 6 or 8 accounts underneath both of those. What we try to do is we take things in on that, and then we take it out. And what happened this year, it made these numbers look a little funny. We had a very generous donation from an estate that came into our books in December of 2020. So to maybe make it simpler, if we just took out that money, it was about $142,000. We take that out of both of those lines. And then you look at the net after that. The revenues were only lower than budget up on top there, that 578, man. If you took out that 142,000, our revenues were only lower than budget by $4,000, which is pretty much on target. And then down on that total expense line down below there, 561, our expenses were actually lower than budget by 17,000. And that's how you, if you take the difference between those two numbers, that shows our surplus versus budget. So what that shows is, from an income and expense standpoint, we had a very, very good year. Earlier in the year, we were concerned we would be able to meet those revenue targets, but people were very generous, both in the pledges and the plate. Any questions on that page? Okay, the final sheet shows our 2021 budget. Same categories as before. And if you look at the bottom, you see that we show a slight deficit of about $4,000, which basically is about as close as we can get to be balanced. We did make some adjustments in several expense categories to reduce that deficit. But if you look up on the pledge payments there, the 360, man, you probably don't remember, but on the prior page, that 360 is just about the same as our 2020 budget. But interestingly enough, if we come in like that, it's higher than the 2020 actual by about $6,000. So what that really says, I guess that's a key thing we look at, since it's such a large percentage of our financial picture. Pledges are forecasted to be very generous again. And we were able to do a few things in the expense categories so that we almost balanced. So the expenses actually are about $5,000 lower than the 2020 budget because of some of the items that we took. So that is the budget. So just sort of summing up real quick, I think we've already talked about the fact that it was a challenging year. But I think if you look at our church financial results in total, as Nan mentioned in her prayer, it's been a real true commitment to our Christian mission here in Highland Lakes. I think that's really something we can all be proud of. So thanks to each of you. Any final questions on the budget or the expenses? You might have people muted, Nan, I don't know.
Yes, they are muted. And if you would just unmute yourself as you would like to speak, we'd love to hear from you. You may just have explained it so well, Bruce.
I tried to hit the highlights. We could talk about this for an hour, but it wouldn't be any point in it. So
I want to say something. I just want to thank you, Bruce, for doing an absolutely amazing job. I know it's not easy, and we just all appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nan.
Hear, hear.
And I see a question in the chat. We'll print out. I'm sorry. Need to say something.
Barbara, I
From
have a,
Rita, and
Barbara, I have a question if I could.
Oops,
Bruce,
we lost you, Sue.
Bruce.
I'm listening.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that there were several things that had been reduced to get us to this budget in this very interesting and unusual year. Is there any way that you can just say generally?
I can give you the three specifics. And really, I was talking about how we met the expenses for 2021 budget, not for 2020.
And are we going to need to figure those activities back into 2021 is where I was trying to go.
Well, maybe there was some confusion. When I mentioned those reductions, we have a budget committee which reviews everything and then it's presented to the vestry. So when the budget committee met, we assumed that the pledges were going to be the same as 2020 for 2021, and that turned out to be about the same. Remember the 360, but we had a bigger deficit than the 4,000. And the three things that we did was we've been putting a $4,000 allotment from the operating budget into the maintenance reserve for the last 3 or 4 years per vestry guidelines. And what's happened with the market doing pretty well and us doing that, we were so far above the target, we thought we could defer that for 1 year. Okay. So that's a saving of $4,000. And the second thing we did, we in the past have always forecast or allotted $2,400 to each of the priests as a discretionary expense. And just for the parish, that goes into a separate account, and each of those priests then are able to spend that as they want, helping people that need help. And what we did, we cut that to $1,200 each. So that was another savings of $2,400. And coincidentally, just a real quick comment, when we got the large estate contribution after the budget was set, the vestry took $2,400 out of that estate and gave it back to the priest. So basically, outside of the operating budget, they balanced it. So they don't really see any difference in what they did. And the other thing that we did, we did not have any increases in wages or salaries for the year 2021 compared to 2020. So it was necessary to take all those steps to bring it back into balance.
Thank you so much, Bruce, for that, and to the budget committee for making those, and vestry for making those decisions. And thanks for the clarification and for all your work.
Great job. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I was saying that the 2021 directory will be out in the mail sometime this week. Is that correct, ma'am?
I pick it up, hopefully I pick it up from the printers this Tuesday. So if that happens, then we'll start to work to get it out to you. Yes.
Okay, but that mail out will include the budget, a copy of the budget.
Yes, it'll include this, the whole annual meeting report.
Okay. So I do need a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read.
I move we accept the budget as read.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, signify your approval by raising your hand. All right, thank you. And I will tell you, as senior warden, that budget was a nail biter, but this parish came through, I guess. So the 2021 budget also includes our 10% given to the Mission and Outreach Commission for outreach, and I'm extremely proud of this parish that we continue to do that. We've done that for a number of years now, that 10% of our what comes in goes out as outreach to our community. Okay, and next on our agenda is our foundation report. So Jim Pounds.
Jim, I think you're muted.
Thank you. You missed all the platitudes where I was saying how great I loved you guys. No, really, I was.
Say that again. We want to hear it.
Okay, I said, good morning, everyone. It is my honor to be on the foundation board, and it's my honor to be here today and see all of these beautiful smiling faces of people that I think so highly of and love. So, you know, good morning. It's been a learning curve for me to be on the foundation, because the only real activities I did in the Episcopal or the Catholic Church was to be a reader and a communion server. So I really didn't know how this worked, and I'm really, really impressed with our church foundation. It is such an integral part of what we do and what we can do in this community. So I'm sure most of you know, but the foundation manages the various funds, including investments, and the vestry decides how these funds are spent. We just manage them for the ongoing good. The vestry and foundation work hand in hand, because Reverend Dave, the rector, and the senior wardens, so Dave and Barb Parmenter right now, are also on our foundation board. At the close of 2020, the foundation actually managed $1,041,873, which not only was a net gain of 135,000 plus over last year, or over the beginning of the year, but this is the first time that that foundation has been at that amount since the finish of the construction of the parish hall. So, and the endowment fund, by vestry resolution, annual distributions to the Trinity Church Treasury from the endowment fund is on January 31st of each year. It's to be used at the discretion, it's to be used at the discretion of the vestry to further the church mission in the Highland Lakes. And this is a very conservative distribution plan that we operate on. It is 3% of a rolling average of the previous 8 quarters. So we get a good picture of how we can draw from this fund based upon how the fund is actually doing. In 2020, that 3% rolling average amount was $15,838. And for 2021, the amount is $16,663. So, and our balance at the end of the year in the endowment fund was $670,000. We always try to keep, by vestry order, the ongoing minimum balance of the endowment fund is always $500,000. Then there are several funds also in the foundation. The Memorial Fund invests those assets contributed in memory of members of the Trinity family and are used for activities as directed by the vestry, or it could be also by the wishes of those that are donating. We had a big, very generous contribution from the D. Yoder estate this year, which was really marvelous. And that's already funded and that was in December of last year, so not very long ago. And it's already funded $10,000 donations each to the Boys and Girls Club and Sharing the Harvest Food Pantry. So that is just allowing us to do so much for the community already. And that's the importance of it. The balance of that fund, the Memorial Fund, as of the end of the year was $244,517. We have special funds, which right now are balanced $12,226, and this has the organ fund and the children's fund, and this is what's paid for the new organ and some of the contributions directly to that fund. There's also a maintenance reserve fund, and it's for the projected replacement of the larger known maintenance items on the church, such as, physical plants, such as the air conditioners, so that we're not hit with a big capital outlay unexpectedly, or we do not have the funds set aside for it. That's based on the component life cycle. So that is as a guy that worked for physical plant at St. Edward's University, I know how important that fund is and to budget for it. And currently as of 12/31, as are all these balances, that balance, the maintenance reserve fund, was $73,063. And that just keeps us from, having those big capital outlays without having planned for them. And then there is a contingency reserve fund, which is, just as it says, it's earmarked for contingencies that come up above the church's typical operating budget, emergencies, so to speak. And the balance of that was $41,910 as of the end of the year, 2020. So, to increase the visibility, which has been one of the things that we've trying to do in the last year and in the near future, is to, we sponsored a series of estate planning educational seminars via Zoom for the benefit of the parishioners, and Melissa Edge led those, and they were very good, very informative, and we're going to do a second round of those later in the spring. Melissa's expecting right now, and so we're kind of jumping over that wonderful time to give her a little bit of time. But we felt like we probably would have gotten better turnout on that if we were doing it during the adult education time. But we'll figure out how to do it, because that information is so valuable, and we want to keep the church mission first and foremost there too, along with the estate planning, so that hopefully our parishioners will see the benefit to keeping their mission going in the Highland Lakes area also. And I'll close in saying that, or one of the last comments I'll make, is that we are so blessed, because it's very unusual for a church of Trinity size to have this financial security to continue our outreach that Trinity has. It's just a blessing that I never realized until I was on this board just what a blessing this is, and how this foundation works for our benefit, our security, and the security of the mission that we've set out to do. So it's a blessing indeed. I'd like to say that this year the new members that came on were Nick Zakoff and Melissa Edge, and Barb Parmenter, being the new senior warden, came on board. And then we're cycling off the members that have done so much. Wilson is cycling off, and also Dave Ellis. And Dave has been such an integral part of how this board has prospered and stayed organized. And he's been my mentor in many ways, and I really appreciate that. So that's my report. Do I need to just open for any questions or discussions? We're talkative, that's great. So, okay, Barb, I think that's it for me. I don't think I need to make any motions or anything, do I? Or ask for any motions?
Jim,
Okay.
thank you so much. You clarified everything very well. And so I appreciate what you've done. That's a lot of hard work that you put into your session. So thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without the team behind me, I promise.
That's probably true. I understand.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
And my hat's off to the board. I was on the board just because my position is senior warden, but I just got to sit and listen most of the time. And the guys, the women, everybody on there does a phenomenal job.
I agree. Thank you, Barb.
Okay, Father Dave, do we need to approve that report?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, so I will
All right.
turn this meeting over to you, Dave.
Well, thank you very much. I'll be keeping my remarks relatively brief this morning, just in order to keep this meeting a little bit streamlined. I've moved my rector's address in place of the sermon at the 10:30 service. So that sermon at 10:30 will be kind of a sermon address hybrid that will talk a little bit about the year that lies ahead and some of the work that I think is ahead for us. The work that we've done over this past year has really been very beautifully put together in our annual report. That is being finalized, and as has been mentioned, we're going to be mailing that report out hopefully later this week, along with the new picture directory. So when you receive that annual report at home, I really encourage you to look it over and read some of those reports from the associate rector and from Barb, a senior warden, and from our junior warden. We have been through such a crazy time, and we've been through so many challenges that it's really kind of amazing to read through those reports and be reminded of just how many great things have happened over this past year here at Trinity, thanks to all the hard work that's being done, and thanks to God's blessings that continue to be showered upon us even during these difficult times. So we've the Helping Center garden has produced over 4,000 pounds of fresh produce for the Helping Center over this past year. We have a beautiful new organ. We've got a new processional cross. We've been able to make many gifts in support of different community organizations. And so, again, it's just amazing to see, looking over this past year, how many really great things have happened. So I think what I'm going to focus on really now is just saying some thank yous. This is the time when I would thank the outgoing vestry and thank my staff and everybody. But I do want to, there's so many thank yous that it's really difficult, but I do want to for sure thank my staff. They've been so flexible and creative in how they've done their work over this past year. I've asked them to work from home, and now we've got some people, we've got kind of a skeleton staff working here a couple of days a week, but they've continued to do their work from home and really to just adapt to these different circumstances. So Nan, of course, always just does such an amazing job as associate rector, and now she is I call her our Zoom czar. She coordinates and hosts all of our Zoom meetings. She has really taken over a lot of the pastoral care stuff as I've gotten pulled more and more into having to figure out clerical and administrative stuff. Nan has really done more and more of that stuff. She has really taken the lead on things like education, so many different things that she's doing kind of behind the scenes right now from home. And so I'm really, really grateful. And then just as always, her friendship and her wisdom. I consult with Nan on every important decision that I make here at this church, and I rely so heavily on her guidance under ordinary circumstances, but that's been much more true than usual over this past year. So I want to thank her. Janie and Georgia, of course, having to work largely from home, having to figure out how to have meetings by Zoom, and just how to do everything remotely and differently. They've really had to scramble, as we all have. And again, they've shown so much dedication, so much creativity, and so much perseverance in the way that they have carried out their tasks. They've served this parish so well this year. Barbara Warden, working with Janie, have continued to provide us music under very challenging circumstances. It's not safe, of course, for us to be singing together in person. And so they, together with our AV personnel, have been recording wonderful anthems that the choirs put together. And that's all been done while keeping safely distanced. They've turned our church into this recording studio that allows people to sing while they're at least 16 feet apart. I mean, if you could see what they're having go through in order to record these anthems for us, you would just be amazed. And so again, just the creativity and the dedication and the perseverance have been really incredible to see. There have been so many people, so many of you who are on the Zoom call who have really stepped up this year to help us to make all these big shifts. And I can't possibly thank everybody who I need to thank, but I really have to single out Dave and Bernadette Ellis. As we have had to go online with our worship, we could not have done it without these two. Many people, including, Bob Watkins and David, God, I'm having trouble remembering names right now. But David Waldo, so many people have been a part of that, but all of that AV stuff was really spearheaded by Dave Ellis. And he stepped up very quickly, and he got us producing a very high quality live stream in almost no time. He really jumped on things. And while he was overseeing all that technical stuff and finding consultants and purchasing and installing equipment, Bernadette was very quietly making possible all of the logistics behind how we could safely gather and worship. First, when we were pre-recording things, and then as we started returning back into worshiping in person, she ensured that we were able to do that in a way that was safe and also meaningful in terms of our worship. So I cannot imagine how I would have navigated, or how this church would have navigated this past year without Dave and Bernadette Ellis. So be sure and thank them so much and tell them just how grateful you are to them. They are just really amazing. Our vestry has just done amazing work this year. Again, we've had to meet by Zoom. We've had to have many deliberations and make big decisions by Zoom. And so just want to thank all of them. And I'll be in particular thanking some of the outgoing members in just a minute. But all of the vestry has done incredible work. And that includes the work of the treasurer, who works as part of the vestry. You've heard Bruce's report. We've thanked him. I think everybody knows what an incredible job he does. And he has really seen us through some very stressful and difficult times. And really part of the reason that we were able to finish last year with a surplus, which is just astonishing given the challenges of the year, and that we're able to project a very close to a balanced budget for 2021 is a testament to the work that Bruce has done as our treasurer, the fact that he enjoys so much trust and respect, which he has earned from all of the parishioners. And so we certainly owe Bruce a great deal of thanks. And then the other members that work together with the vestry is the vestry clerk. And that person currently is Janie Cunningham. And so we want to thank Janie for taking vestry minutes, for taking the minutes of things like this meeting. And Janie, you all know, serves this church in too many capacities for us to name right now, but we're grateful for her work as a vestry clerk. And before Janie, we actually had Ellen Miller serving as vestry clerk, and she had some changing circumstances in her life and needed to rotate off as vestry clerk. So be sure and thank Ellen Miller as well. We're really grateful for the work that she has done in serving us as our vestry clerk over this past year. And many of you know that Ellen is lost her mother over the past couple of days, and so she is traveling out to Houston with Rod to be with the family and to mourn together and commemorate her mother Glenna to God. So do keep the Miller family in your prayers. Real quickly, ordinarily in our parish meeting, I would have the outgoing vestry members come up and I would present them with gifts. I have gifts for them, but we're all in separate rooms, so I'll just have to give them to you later on. But I do want to recognize and thank each of you for just the amazing work you've done. Ken, many of you know, was serving out the term of Jane Walton. Jane was serving her vestry term, and then she had changes in her family and her life situation and needed to step down from vestry service. And so when I needed somebody who could step right into that position, somebody who had a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom, Ken Walker was really the person who jumped to mind. And so I asked him if he would serve out that term. And of course, he agreed to do so with all of the openness and the willingness and the faithfulness that he has always demonstrated here at Trinity. And he has really given us so much guidance, so much wisdom over this past couple of years as he has served out the remainder of Jane Walton's term. And so I'm really grateful to him for his willingness just to step in like that, and the way that he carried out his duties while serving so many other really important responsibilities here in Trinity and out in the community with his work with CASA and so many other different aspects of his work. And so, Ken, thank you so much for everything that you do for this church, and in particular for your service through the leadership on the vestry. And we're grateful for you and wish you a happy vestry retirement, but we know that you won't be going far. So thank you. David Waldo, I think everybody knows, has served. Ken, did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Just said thank you very much.
Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
David Waldo, many of you know, has not only served a vestry term, but he has served several years as junior warden and has functioned in that capacity at a very, very high level. David Waldo has practically lived here over the past couple of years, not only in his capacity as junior warden, fixing different things and maintaining things and overseeing different projects, but also really coordinating the installation of the garden, which we have out here. He was the mastermind behind that. He was the one who coordinated the efforts between the master gardeners and this church, and the just amazing success of that garden in many ways is a testament to his work. As I've said a number of times, that garden is one of the best things that Trinity has ever been involved in. And we hardly even had to do anything except supply the land that is being used. But it's been part of this amazing partnership that David has been really at the heart of. Boy, he has given this church so much, but you all know that there is a special place in heaven that is reserved for all church junior wardens. And so, David, you have just done an amazing job in that capacity, and we are so grateful to you. So thank you, David. And he is, I think, off in the church right now, serving as junior warden somewhere. Oh, I think I see him on the screen, but thank you, David. And finally, our senior warden, Barb Parmiter, has stepped up during, she didn't know what she had in store when she agreed. None of us did at the beginning of this year. But again, she has had to lead us as a parish through such challenging times when it was really hard to tell what was going to be happening from one day to the next. There have been so many changes. And through all that, Barb has provided us with very, very steady leadership. And so I'm so grateful to her. Again, her counsel has been invaluable during this time. She has been involved in every major project that we have gone through over this past year. One of the things that I particularly want to thank Barb for is that she is overseeing our transition to a new website that has been in need of updating for quite a few years now. And we've sort of talked about how we were going to do this and who was going to do it. And so Barb was part of the committee that was discussing how we were going to make that happen. And finally, she just said, you know what? I'll just do it myself. And so Barb has been working for months now on putting together a new website. I think we're quite close to having that go live, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be much more functional and much more informative, much easier for us to use than the one that we currently have. So that's just something for you to be on the lookout, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. But Barb, thank you so much for everything that you have done for this church. But boy, your leadership through this difficult time is so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And on that note of senior warden, I would like to announce that I have asked Ann Stefan to serve as our senior warden for 2021, and she has agreed to do so. She brings great energy and great faithfulness and creativity to that position. And so I think, Barb, that you can step aside knowing that the leadership of this church is in very good hands. And so
Yes.
thank you so much to Ann for her willingness to step into this position during these challenging times. And then I just need to thank you all. I mean, this parish, this has always been such an amazing church, but the way that you have stepped up to serve this community and the community beyond during these especially challenging times, once again, it's just incredible to see. And I'm just so grateful to all of you for all of your work, for all of your generosity, for all of your faithfulness, for all of the support that you've given me. I want to note that as part of our, that at the very end of this past year, the vestry decided that they were going to give a bonus to Nan and to me as part of our salary, just in recognition of the fact that this past year has had special challenges. And that was just such a beautiful and a greatly appreciated gesture. You all have given so much to so many people, but I want to thank you personally for all of the support that you have given to me over this past year during this difficult time. I am just incredibly grateful for you, and I cannot thank you all enough for your love, for your friendship, and for allowing me to serve as your rector. So thank you all so much. And I would like to now, in our annual parish meeting, I open things up for questions. And if anybody has any questions or comments or things that need to be discussed here as a parish, I would like to invite you to unmute yourself and ask questions right now. This is a good time to for any questions or comments that you may have.
I'd like to know who the new junior warden is.
Great question. Junior warden is a vestry elected position. And so at our first vestry meeting, and we may do that virtually, the vestry, the new vestry will elect its new junior warden. And so that will hopefully happen and be announced within the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, David Waldo has offered very graciously, along with some assistance from the parish, to continue to make sure that that we keep things going along. So hopefully no major catastrophe will occur within the next week or two here at Trinity.
Dave, may I ask why the junior warden has a special place in heaven?
It is an incredibly challenging position, and really it you know, it depends. You never know what the circumstances are going to be, but the junior warden is always being called upon to fix the plumbing and, you know, in the bathrooms, to change light bulbs. There's all these little constant things, and then the air conditioning units will go out. It's a 24/7 kind of job. You always have to be ready to go. And that has been true for every junior warden that has ever served here at Trinity.
Do we have a maintenance crew or anyone who, other than the junior warden, who's responsible for those kind of calls?
We don't really currently have a maintenance crew.
Or a maintenance supervisor? You know, I'd be happy to talk to you about that in the future going forward.
All right, well, we'll have discussions about, basically the junior warden is kind of the maintenance supervisor. And depending on circumstances, may put together committees to help work with him, but we'll certainly keep that in mind. It would not hurt at all for us to have some sort of a grounds committee that was ready to kind of help with different projects around the church.
Well, construction was my background, and I'd like a little piece of that heaven too. No, only kidding.
You have already earned it, Jim, but but we'll be happy to find more things for you to do around here.
I'm trying to get with the garden right now, so thank you. I would be interested in talking about that with the junior warden.
Great. All right. What other questions do you all have? If there are no further questions, then I will turn things back over to our senior warden for another 10 minutes or so. And Barb,
Okay.
thank you again.
Okay.
I'll turn things back over to you.
All right, thank you. Nan, did you have something you wanted to tell us?
Yes, if I may. I want to talk about our rector for just a few minutes. And to start by saying that when I was a pharmacist, I would hear occasionally from a patient waiting, you know, why does it take so long to get this prescription ready when you're just pouring from one bottle to another? And Bernadette and Spencer probably have heard that same thing. A little more complicated than that. So I want to pull back the curtain a little bit and tell you some of what has gone on this year and how our rector has been an unusually powerful leader. I've been a priest for 28 years, and this is the most difficult year I've ever served. And every clergy person I talk to have said the same, that it's been more challenging to figure out how to do things in the time of COVID than ever before. And Dave Sagano has done that in exemplary ways. And he has worked harder than he's probably ever had to. He commonly worked through Fridays, his day off, including this last Friday when he was working on stuff for the annual meeting. He thoughtfully sent the staff home concerned about our safety, which meant he was often the only person up at the church. And in addition to writing sermons and everything else he did, he answered phones and folded bulletins and just gave and gave and gave. He is one of the most collaborative people I've certainly unusual for a rector. One of the most collaborative people I ever worked with. Dave is so good about, and I guess it's because of his humility. He asks for help. He asks for opinions. He forms a task force instead of just deciding on something himself. And then he really values and seeks and reseeks their opinion. That is such a valuable trait in a leader. He's so thoughtful and reflective about his decisions. Sometimes people tease him about taking a little bit longer than many to make a decision, but that means that his decision is very well thought out and has had input from other people, and is usually a decision that stands the test of time very well. And Dave is a fun person to work with, even in the stress, in the midst of stress. And we've had way too many Zoom meetings this year, but he has kept his sense of humor. He is a real person, as y'all know. That's why we love you so much, Dave, because he's very human and he admits to that. He's very genuine, and underlying all of that is he is an incredible man of faith. So I just want to reiterate what y'all already know, that part, and maybe even a major part of the reason we got through this year so well is that we have a fabulous rector. Thank you, God, for Dave Segano.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You almost made me believe that. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Okay, looking at the time, it looks like we need to wrap things up. But I just did want to say that it has been an honor to serve as senior warden. Somebody asked me a couple of months ago, gee, Barb, did you know you were going to be our wartime senior warden? And no, I did not. And COVID took us all by surprise last year. But I did want to say that this parish has been a faithful pillar for me and for the entire community. And the phrase that I have relied on that has come back to me over and over again through this last year is, I will with God's help. I have never felt alone. I know that God has been with me. And so I thank God for standing with me. And I thank all of you for standing with me. Okay, so on that note, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a
Second.
second. Okay.
Second.
All right. Let's approve that motion. Raise your hand. All right. Thank you all.
Thank
Give some
you.
hands up.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you all. Thank you so much. See you in worship.
Okay. Thank you.